Can people hear us? Every time I start one of these, I feel like I have 5 minutes of not being sure if it's working.
Yeah. And also people sort of roll in over a little while, don't they? Yeah. I never obviously I made sure I remembered to be in the right place at the right time today, but I fail miserably.
Yeah, I feel like I often watch other people's live shows the next day or like 20 minutes afterwards.
Yes.
Like I'm 20 minutes behind the time, so I'm not leaving comments because I'm watching. Yeah, I'm very rarely
least halfway through.
Yeah, even if I set myself reminders on my phone, I still end up forgetting. But people are saying hello, so that looks promising that people are here. So yeah, how has everyone's Victober been going so far? We're just over halfway through. What have you been reading? What have you been reading, Ros?
What have I been reading? I've been reading a lot of plays because it's my challenge, so I thought I should. So I've been reading Oscar Wilde and Boucicault, Dion Boucicault, a couple by him, which he was new to me, so that was nice. And one by Ouida, that was one you recommended.
Oh, good afternoon.
Yes, Katie. And now the most bizarre thing by Florence. Well, no, kind of strange, sad thing by Florence Bell. Alan's Wife. What a great name for a play, Alan's Wife. There you go. Yeah. So, but also I'm ploughing through Pickwick Papers, which is a joy, and it's keeping me busy slowly. What about you, Katie?
I've had a really productive Victober so far, which is very exciting. I feel like I've read a lot, but some of them were plays, which are quite short, and there were a few things I'd started in September. But yeah, I read some Dion Boucicault too. I read London Assurance, which was really fun. And it was nice because I feel like the vast majority, pretty much all the Victorian drama I'd read had been from like the 1880s, 1890s. And London Assurance is from like 1841. And I've read quite a lot of like Regency or late 18th century drama. And actually, in a way, it feels closer to the sort of like Sheridan and
it really made me think of the School for Scandal, say.
So it's quite fun to see the like bridge between Sheridan and Oscar Wilde. So that was quite fun. And then I read another Pinero play because I really like him. I read Surely of the Wells. That was good. And then the other play I read was The Ticket of Leave Man by Tom Taylor. Ever come across that? It's a melodrama. So it's very silly. But it's about this young man who sort of gets out of prison and he was wrongly accused of something, and he was kind of in with the wrong crowd, and he's trying to get his life back on track, but no one wants to employ him because he was previously in prison. So it's sort of like this really, really silly melodrama, but it's got quite like a serious theme. And like some serious social criticism. So I really liked that. That was good.
That's one to look for.
It's like that, yeah. And then this evening, I've just started Mr. Scarborough's Family by Anthony Trollope. I read 2 chapters yesterday, so I'm gonna carry on with that this evening. And also, if I read a few chapters of that, I might also start The Perpetual Curate by Margaret Oliphant. Very shiny, which I have not started yet, but I want to read next. So I'm looking forward to that. I haven't read any Margaret Oliphant for quite a few years, but I really like her.
Yes, I never really. Well, I haven't got into her, but maybe you'll inspire me to. The beginning of the month, I had I sort of gorged on Sherlock Holmes, which was a nice way to start October, and because I was doing a lot of journeys and things, or odd hours, and so I was listening to Stephen Fry, and which is extremely pleasurable.
It's such a good audiobook, that massive, like 70-hour all of Sherlock Holmes. I have been listening to The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, just that short story collection, like either because I've read them lots of times before, so I've been listening to that like either when I'm falling asleep or like when I'm driving. When my brain is not focused on the audiobook but focused on something else, then I put Sherlock Holmes on, and it's quite nice. I was just listening to The Blue Carbuncle earlier today, which is the Christmassy one, and that was quite fun, even though it's still a while to go to Christmas.
I think it's interesting. I think that Victorian novels and short stories seem to work really well for audio. I suppose they expected them to be read aloud.
Yeah, I think that was just like your family evening entertainment was you read aloud to each other. So actually, yeah, I think a lot of them, were intended to be read aloud. You know, I love the fact that Dickens would like go on tour and do read aloud scenes like a rock star performing his greatest hits. I think that's amazing. Imagine you just go to see Charles Dickens and he would do just like the greatest hits, like the best scenes from his novels, assuming everyone had read them and knew them. Like, I think that's kind of amazing. Yeah, that's very fun. They do work so well on audiobook.
Yeah. Well, there's loads of messages about what people are currently reading. So,
Gaskell's Gothic Tales, very good. Love them. New Grub Street, very good. Yeah. George Gissing is always wonderful. The Haunted House by Wilkie Collins, and more Wilkie Collins, The Dead Secret. I haven't read The Haunted Hotel. I have read The Dead Secret, and also currently reading Middlemarch, which is a long one. Me and Roz won't get into an argument about George Eliot.
Fisticuffs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, I have respect for Middlemarch, even if I don't have love for it, and that's fine. Oh yes, I want to read The Superfluous Woman. That's one that's on my like vague new woman TBR radar. Elizabeth's German Garden I really like.
And Elizabeth's German Garden is one of those books that you almost forget is Victorian.
It's very late, isn't it? And I read The Enchanted April by her, which is like 1920s and feels very 1920s. Whereas Elizabeth's German Garden came out 25 years before that. It's really interesting. I can't remember who Chantry House is by. That rings a bell to me, but I can't remember. But exciting. And Return of the Native is very, very good indeed.
One of my favourite parties.
Yeah. The Shadow of Ass. I can't remember how to say that word, but I have been meaning to read that one too. But yeah. Hi, Carly. You're reading New Grove Street, also very good. And also The Odd Woman is excellent. You didn't like that as much, did you, Roz? I don't think.
But, I didn't. I'll be honest. Yeah.
That's okay. We won't come to fisticuffs.
We won't fight over that
either. Armadale, yes. Excellent choice, Julian. I love Armadale. I think it's really good. Trying to find your DVD copy of The Importance of Being Earnest. Yeah, I have a DVD copy somewhere, I think. I really love that. I'm assuming that you're meaning is it 2000s, I guess? Maybe 90s? I can't remember. The adaptation with Colin Firth and Reese Witherspoon and various other famous people. That's really good one.
Such a good version. Yeah.
It's really fun. I wonder, that was probably my introduction to Oscar Wilde. I feel like that was probably the first thing I experienced Oscar Wilde wise, I would guess. Yeah. Oh yes, I wonder if a few people will be finishing off The Doctor's Wife tonight. I have sneakily got ahead of the schedule and finished it yesterday, 2 days ahead. Very sneaky, but we were very near the end.
Yeah, I think it hits a point where it was really hard not to read ahead. Because I did the same, and some books just get very propulsive towards the end, don't they?
And I've been very restrained about trying to read 2 chapters a day, but there were a few days where I left the house and I was like, well, I have to have 2 books in my bag because after I finished my 2 chapters, I had to be sure. And then on Tuesday, I left the house and I was like, I'm just going to bring 1 book and I'll just read as much of The Doctor's House as I need to on trains. I'm not going to carry around 2 books with me. And then I finished it. Sort of Wednesday morning. I only had one chapter left, but it seemed silly to leave it unfinished. But I really enjoyed it. More George Eliot. Roz will be happy. I don't know Janet's Repentance. Maybe I'll try some of her shorter work sometime, but maybe I won't. We'll see. I'll Meet Your Friend. Very, very excellent. Vanity Fair also good. I mean, I haven't read Vanity Fair since I was about 14, so my memory of it is very, very, very blurry.
Me too, but because around 14 or 15 was a bit longer ago for me, but that was when I last read it too.
I thought it was good as a teenager, but I also didn't go and read anything else by Thackeray at the time. So I think that must have been the level at which I liked it. Yeah. Oh yeah, more Sherlock Holmes. Always good to see.
Yeah.
Emily, I'm glad that you loved Poor Miss Finch. I really love Poor Miss Finch. I think that's a really good one.
I haven't read that one.
It's really interesting. Yeah, I do like Wilkie Collins. He's a bit hit or miss, but I really like Poor Miss Finch. And Hannah is reading George Eliot biography. Very good. I actually think, even though I don't love her books, I feel like I would quite like to read a biography of George Eliot because I feel like she's a very interesting person. So maybe I should go and read a biography of George Eliot, and then I'll really like her as a person and want to like her books more. I don't know, but I feel like she does have a really interesting life. And I read what's that non-fiction book called? Parallel Lives, which is about like 5 Victorian couples, and the 5th of that is about George Eliot and George Henry Lewes, and that was really, really interesting. Made me fascinated by her. Yeah. Carolyn reading Little Dorrit again, very good book. And more Doctor's Wife and The House by the Churchyard by J. Sheridan Lefanu. I'm very fond of that. And Dracula and Jane Eyre, also excellent pictures. James would like to know if those are the Beatles on your wall.
Yes, they are.
I enjoy it. Excellent. Oh yes, The Hound of the Baskervilles was narrated by Derek Jacobi. Yeah, I think I listened to, I can't remember what, maybe short stories. I have listened to some Derek Jacobi Sherlock Holmes before I got started with Stephen Fry. But yeah, Derek Jacobi's very good as well. Even though, yeah, it's nice with the Stephen Fry audiobook. It's so much Sherlock Holmes in one, which is great. Yeah. Oh yes, The Small House at Allington, definitely one of the best Sherlocks. I heartily agree, Sarah. That is so good.
Couldn't agree more. Yeah. And
then, oh yeah, so it was Mary Young. That makes sense. I need to read more by her. The Moonstone. Fair enough. I quite like The Moonstone, but
yes, my favourite Wilkie Collins.
My favourite Wilkie Collins too. But maybe he's just not for you. Oh yes, The Important Thing, Ernest. It is a great adaptation, as we were discussing already. And Carolyn has been seeing that too, or saw them previously. Yeah, An Ideal Husband is great. I don't think I've seen that adaptation with Rupert Everett. Maybe I need to locate that in the last 2 weeks of October, because I've only read that one. I haven't seen it, so that'd be quite fun. And Barnaby Rudge, yes, Barnaby Rudge is very, very good. I'm always excited when people are reading Barnaby Rudge because I feel like it's very underrated. And if you read it last year, it really like Crew in my estimation. Very good.
It's one of the Dickens I haven't read, and it's sort of. But I think that I've got a few because I had years of not reading Dickens. I don't know why really, but the one that's top of my list to read is Dombey and Son.
That is very, very good. I was about to say it's the best, but it is the second best. But it is one of my absolute.
Bleak House is the best.
Our Mutual Friend is the best, but Dombey and Son is the second best. Bleak House can be like number 4, maybe probably number 4. but Dombey and Son is really good. Yeah, it's really worth a read. And then. Yes, more Sheridan Lefanu. Uncle Silas is great. Yeah, I really love Sheridan Lefanu. He's another great, like slightly underrated Victorian writer. I really love Uncle Silas a lot. Hello, Elizabeth. Starting A Woman of No Importance. Very good. That's probably my favourite Oscar Wilde, I would say. I really like that. It's really good. The Invisible Man by H.G. Wells. Another good one. And someone else reading Poor Miss Finch. That's exciting. And Emily is rereading Great Expectations. Yes, such a good one. So I feel like I think I got most of what people were reading. Oh yes, Tilly. Yes, my full Dickens ranking. I actually filmed a full Dickens ranking today, like 2 hours ago, because now I've reread them all for the Mega Dickens Read Long. I've filmed a tier ranking, so that'll be up like next week at some point. But I tried to rank them by lots of categories and assign them all like different numbers, and I tried to rank them objectively by category, and then they weren't quite in the order that I wanted them to be in. So,
so you tried to be scientific and objective, and then threw that out the window.
I was like, actually, it's not objective, is it? How much you love books. So we'll get there. It's fine. That'll be up as a fun. I need to edit it. It took me a very long time. And someone else is reading The Island of Dr. Moreau. That is a great book as well. Very intriguing. So, shall we do some reading? What time are we on? So we're on. So it's 7:15. So do we want to read till 7:45 or till 8? What do you think, Ros?
Should we do half an hour and then a little?
Yeah, do half an hour and then we'll see how everyone's going on. Cool.
Do another.
That was the banner I had prepared, so that was what I thought. I thought we'd probably do that. Lovely. Cool. So we'll read until 7:45. 7:45 in the UK, but 7:45, whatever the approaching hour is in whatever time zone you're in. And I will start off with some Anthony Trollope and maybe move on to some Margaret Oliphant. And I will mute myself and read. And yeah, happy reading, everyone. And we'll talk to you in half an hour. So it is 1:45. How has everyone's reading gone? Roz, how has the Pickwick Papers been? Are you reading the Pickwick Papers? Oh, you're still muted.
Oh, you've unmuted me. Thank you. Yes, no, I'm buried in the Pickwick Papers. It's as I say, I'm working through the Dickens that I haven't read. This being one, and I'm not a. I tend to think I like late Dickens best, but I'm really enjoying Pickwick Papers. It's just
very,
great.
very funny, isn't it?
Just so funny.
So good. Yeah.
And because my expectations of it are different, because I know it's episodic, and I'm reveling in that, and it's going really well.
Good. Yeah, I really like the Pickwick Papers. It's very good fun.
Yeah.
Sam Weller is my favourite. He's just excellent always.
Yeah. Well, I like Jingle. Jingle is just great.
Oh yeah, Jingle's great. Yeah, I quite like Mr. Winkle as well. He always gets himself into trouble. That's always very entertaining.
Yeah.
It's good. I read 2 chapters of Mrs. Scarborough's Family, which I'm really enjoying, but I'm very near the beginning. And then I read nearly a whole chapter of The Perpetual Curate. And this is one of Mrs. Margaret Oliphant's Carlingford Chronicles. And I have read quite a few other books in the series, but quite a long time ago. So in the first chapter, there's a lot of names that I recognize, but I can't quite remember the exact situation where we left everyone. So I might need to look that up and refresh my memory. Or I might find myself a bit confused as I read on, but we'll see. Maybe in 3 chapters time, it'll all be clear.
Fall into place. I always think Trollope's quite good, say in the Berkshire Chronicles, of sort of reminding you who people are, but not everyone is that thoughtful.
Well, even with Anthony Trollope, I think when you read his novels that were obviously being published serially, he often says, I don't know if you remember so-and-so from 5 chapters ago, but in case you don't remember who they are or whatever, he does quite a lot. This is where we last saw this character, even just within his novels rather than within the series. He's quite good at reminding you where everyone is, which is quite nice. But yes, I'm not sure Margaret Oliphant is going to be as kind to me, but we'll see. I'm sure I'll find my way. Yeah, let's see what everyone else is reading. So 1 to 2 pages left of The Doctor's Wife. I feel like it would be quite reasonable if you muted us and finished The Doctor's Wife.
Go and read it, yeah.
Listen to us when you've got 2 pages left. That's so near the end of the book. That's exciting. Great Expectations, always good. Emily, good. 46 pages, very nice in half an hour. And Carolyn, you were reading Little Dorrit, weren't you? Yes, the Juliet Stevenson Little Dorrit audiobook is really good. Yeah, I like Juliet Stevenson a lot. She does a lot of great audiobooks. Mary Barton, very wonderful Gaskell novel. And now listening to A Christmas Carol. Lovely. I don't feel like October is too early for A Christmas Carol. Once all the supermarkets start putting out their Christmas decorations and Christmas things, then which is from about September these days, then it's presumably okay to read A Christmas Carol, I assume. That is how it seems. Yeah, I was in central London the other day and all the Christmas lights were up. They weren't on yet, but they're already up. I was like, it's not even the end of October yet. Anyway, someone else almost finished with The Doctor's Wife. And so I'm reading in English, not French. I'm always very impressed when people can read in a language that is not.
Oh, me too.
As someone who's very bad at languages. I did a bit of French at school, but I'm always very impressed when people read in other languages.
Yeah. And I read a lot of things in translation. And I always feel, and there are some brilliant translators out there, don't get me wrong, but I always feel, I wonder what it is I'm missing or not getting.
Yeah, especially if a writer has very distinct style. It must be hard to. And there must be ways to translate it. For example, I always think I really like Banani Yoshimoto, and I've read quite a lot of her books translated by different people. And even when they're translated by different translators, you do still get the sense of the same original author. The style is still the same. But it must still be different from reading it in the original.
It's an underrated skill, isn't it?
Well, you're really you're rewriting a novel in another language, really, aren't you? Like, it's such a creative thing as well, translating. Oh yes, and Kylie's reading Hard Times. Hard Times is excellent. I do like Sissy Jupe.
It's not my favourite Dickens. Hard Times.
No, it would be in the middle for me.
In the middle, right? Okay, we'll wait.
I can't remember where it ranked in today's ranking. You'll have to see next week. But yeah, it would be in the middle.
I mean, I think it's a good book, but it felt like he was trying to do something that wasn't really his thing.
Yeah, he's definitely trying something quite different with Hard Times. Yeah. So I think it's one of his most interesting books.
Yeah, good for him trying something different, but yeah.
But it misses some of the Dickensian charm that I'm looking for. And it's too short, it's like a normal length novel. And I like my Dickens books to be 4 times the length of a normal novel, Claire's reading A Little Princess, which is Edwardian, but we won't come after you. It's okay. You are allowed. Yeah, I should read that sometime. I think that might be one of those books that I may have read when I was like 12, but I'm not completely certain whether or not I ever read it. So if I haven't, then I should.
Oh, you must. It's so lovely. Yeah. I was positively obsessed with it as a child.
I used to read The Secret Garden a lot. I had that on like tape in my Walkman when I was 12 or whatever. No, probably younger than that. 10. I used to listen to The Secret Garden, but yeah, I don't think I ever read A Little Princess. And you are reading Nicholas Nickleby, The Pickle Papers. Very, very good. And A Woman of No Importance, also very, very good. And I'm glad, Hannah, that you agree that Trollope has a great narrative voice. I was just in like chapter 3 of Mr. Scarborough's Family, which I was just reading. There's a bit where Anthony Trollope is like, and this character is going to be our hero, and he's not that heroic, but he's kind of okay. He's better than most people, and that's why I've decided to tell his story. And I always enjoy when Anthony Trollope sort of like apologizes for his protagonist. He's like, I'm very sorry I've decided to tell this story about this not very nice person, but bear with me. I just find it really like delightful. It does just feel like he's just having a chat with you. Yeah, it's so good. And what else? I think that's I'm losing my comments.
Nicholas Nickleby, she's referring to. Yeah.
It's a good one. Little Man, always good. I
always think of H.G. Wells as sort of epitomising Edwardian writing.
Yeah,
start in the Victorian era.
Yeah, he's really interesting because he kind of crosses the time. And yeah, I really like H.G. Wells, actually. I actually prefer his realist novels to his science fiction, which I feel like is a rare opinion. And more of that is Edwardian. Well, Love and Mr. Lewisham is like just Victorian. And then the others I've read, like Kipps is Edwardian. That's really great. But I do like his sci-fi.
Mr. Polly, I love.
Yeah, Mr. Polly I like as well, yeah. Yeah, and he's kind of, crossing over those time periods that we think of as quite separate, but obviously that's really silly. Like, I always think whenever I read a Victorian novel from the 1880s, I always think like these characters, were they real, would have lived through the First World War. Like, actually, I think of it as a really separate, it's the Victorian period, but obviously that's not really how it works, is it? It's always interesting to, think about the times together. Yes, The Importance of Being Earnest is a great play.
Oh, what a nice way to spend your lunch break! Yeah. But yes, will you return to work in time?
Yeah, that would be very nice. Yes, Juliet Stevenson is really great. Yeah. I don't know that I knew that she played Mrs. Elton. I probably have seen that adaptation, but I've probably forgotten.
She's really good, Mrs. Elton. She's I think that because she captures for me how I read the character, yeah.
Which adaptation is that?
Oh, we need Tilly. She's the one. She's the queen of the which adaptation is which. I'll have to think.
I'll find it later and I'll try and watch it because I like Juliet Stevenson and I probably have seen it at some point, but far long ago, and I've forgotten it. What else do we have? James is reading Gerard Manley Hopkins. Yes, I quite like his poetry. Sometimes it's quite hard to understand, but I also just quite like the rhythm is nice and there's always like a nice image somewhere. So I feel like he's a good poet to let wash over you. And he's very like he's quite experimental and unusual for the Victorian period, so it's quite kind of interesting to think about.
Yes, he doesn't read like a Victorian poet.
No.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating because they weren't published until after his death, so they were published later, and they feel like they were written later, but they weren't. He was writing them during the Victorian period, and they're just sort of like quite ahead of their time, which is really cool. And yes, more Sherlock Holmes. Yeah, there's some wild stuff in the Sherlock Holmes stories. There we go. Yeah, Armadale, so good. I really love Armadale.
Not on the train, Gillian. I wonder where she is and where you're going. Yeah.
I think that is a good way to.
It's the best way to spend a journey.
Yeah, that is how I spend all train journeys. Even if it's just like 10 minutes, I like to try and read. Yeah. Oh yeah, Jim is talking about H.G. Wells's sci-fi novels. Yeah, so I've read those 4, which were Victorian. But yeah, it's quite interesting. They're obviously all very late Victorian, when it's quite a different feel from early, which I always enjoy. Carolyn, who knows her stuff, says that she was Mrs. Elton in the Gwyneth Paltrow version. Now, I've only seen the Gwyneth Paltrow version of Emma once, because both Gwyneth Paltrow and the person playing Harriet, their accents were so bad that I couldn't bear to watch it ever again. I just couldn't. Their accents were so bad. I just never watched that one again.
I can understand that.
Of Emma, but maybe I've been unfair to Juliet Stevenson.
Yes, Juliet Stevenson is the redeeming feature. Yes.
Yeah. And then I think that's most of the comments. So it sounds like people have been having a good time reading, and I've had a good time reading. And there's still 2 weeks of Victober left to go, so there's still quite a lot of time for lots of reading, hopefully, which is nice. What else are you looking forward to in the second half of the month, Ros?
I've just started Ruth by Elizabeth Gaskell. Yes. And in fact, I started it and because I was reading it at the same time as The Doctor's Wife, I actually thought, no, I'm going to wait till I finish The Doctor's Wife and go back to Ruth, and I'll enjoy more. So there's something about the overly innocent woman in Victorian novels that can. There's been an interesting conversation about this on the Discord server, actually, about it can almost become slightly annoying. That, like, it's or I don't know, to a modern reader, and 2 at once was too much.
Yeah, that's fair. Ruth is great though, and it does change. The story goes on, it spans quite a lot of years and so on. It's really good.
What about you?
Well, I'm very near the beginning of both Mrs. Scarborough's Family and The Perpetual Curate, so I feel like they'll take me a little while. And then I still haven't read anything for my own challenge, which is very shocking. So I need to read. I've got The Fate of Fenella, which is by many Victorian authors collaborating. I think that'll be quite fun. And then I've got The Haunted House by Charles Dickens and several other authors. And both of those are relatively short, so I'm sure I will have time to fit them in. I'm quite looking forward to those. I think The Fate of Fenella especially is just going to be like so strange, and I've heard it's excellent fun and very silly. So I'm quite looking forward to that. And then I'm also, the other thing I'm reading on audiobook, I'm listening to The Lancashire Witches by William Harrison Ainsworth. Have you read that, Ros?
Well, no, but because of The Fraud by Zadie Smith, last Victober, Steve, my husband, read Ovingdean Grange by Ainsworth as an experiment, and he said it was pretty dire.
So I just read The Fraud by Zadie Smith last month, which I really liked, and that is why I was like, well, I need to read something by William Harrison Ainsworth now. But it's quite funny because obviously Zadie Smith obviously doesn't think very highly of William Harrison Ainsworth's work, and nor do any of the people in his life. And I can kind of see why. I'm not loving The Lancashire Witches. It's quite wordy, and it's not that exciting. And I also think, like, as a modern reader, it's just very hard to put myself in the like within the world of the Lancashire witches. Like the witches are the villains and they're all evil. And you know, if you're not a young beautiful woman, then how dare you be a woman? You must be a witch. And the good guys are the witch finders. And you know, that's not like So it's quite hard to. Yeah, that doesn't like it's just quite hard to find myself. You know, I'm definitely not on the side that William Harrison Ainsworth wants me to be on. But it's also quite interesting because like it's historical fiction, but it's very supernatural. Like there's lots of magic, like all the magic is real within the world of the novel. And I haven't actually read like I've read like I guess Victorian like vampire fiction and ghost stories, but I haven't read like a real magic in this way novel. So that's kind of interesting, but it's also quite a slog. Like I feel like if I were reading it physically, it would be really boring. But on audiobook, I can kind of let it wash over me a bit. So it's been a mix, but it's kind of intellectually interesting more than fun.
Yes.
But hey, all the rest of my Victober books have been really, really good fun and great reads so far. So it's just maybe just the Lancashire Witches will be a less exciting one, but hey.
Yeah, and then you can tick him off your list then.
Exactly. I don't think I need to read lots by him, but I wanted to give him a try. Yeah. But oh well. Yeah. So I hope everyone's Victober is going well. And we've got reading sprints coming up on Tuesday over on Olivia Savannah's channel, Olivia's Catastrophe, which me and Roz will be joining Olivia Savannah and Mary from Mary Among Stories to like do a Victober Gothtober mashup, which will be good fun. Yes. So I'll post a link to that in the community thing on YouTube as well. And yeah, otherwise, yeah, I hope everyone's Victober's going well. And we'll sign off. I'm going to go and cook myself some dinner because I haven't had dinner yet.
And I'll eat the rest of mine slightly. It's been a very inelegant eating with one hand and reading with the other. I hope no one was really looking.
I'm sure nobody minds still. I feel like that's a good way to eat dinner, with a book in one hand.
In one hand. The best.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I hope everyone's Victober goes well. And yeah, we'll see you all very soon.
See you soon.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.